The United States is facing the most consequential and massive change in our history. As we approach the 250th anniversary of the country's founding, which we will celebrate in 2026, we are entering the AI revolution, a nation that was founded in an agrarian society, that grew in the industrial age, that was changed by the information age, now confronts an entirely different transformation. And it could be gigantic in economic and social terms. My name is Chris Whitlock. I'm an AI integration specialist and an expert in advanced analytics. Through my career, these things were my focus. I retired from Deloitte Consulting 4 years ago as a leader in advanced analytics and AI. I co-authored a book on winning the national security AI competition. This was not a strategy book, it was a practical book. How do you bring these tools into the defense environment as we know it today? That book was published as ChatGPT released. And almost immediately with my partner, we began to teach executives, commercially, in government, and not-for-profit, about this new emergent generative AI and how it could change their organizations and the cautions they needed to be mindful of in using it. Through that journey, I became convicted. Almost everyone was doing something with AI as an organization. But when you began to think about all of them at the same time doing it, I started to wonder about the future. And this past year, I have focused on organizing my own thoughts as I reflect on my children and their future, my extended family, and the people that I know in business and government. How do we best prepare ourselves for the largest change in American history, the largest and most consequential change in the last 500 years? There is no living American, no one who will hear this, who has lived through something this significant. And in the next 25 minutes, I want to orient you to that so that you can prepare better. Now, we all have a challenge, and in my experience, everyone that I deal with, including myself, we tend to have a natural and dominant disposition towards AI. You may be a skeptic. This is hyped. It's not going to get there. There's no way they can make these machines do what they claim that they will do in the future. Optimists are looking at more near term, how do I integrate this into organizations? I'm excited about it. We can see the potential for performance gains. Wow, this is going to have a bigger impact on the economy and on businesses. Visionaries will go even farther. This can radically transform humankind, how the economy functions, and society by building computers smarter than people. And in the context of that, the last persona are worriers, people who authentically and sincerely are concerned from an expert perspective or otherwise that this technology could have negative impacts. That's what we're dealing with. And in my reflections, dealing with many people, I have observed this phenomenon. On the left-hand side of this screen, you see a young man. He has a device in his hand. This is a business. This is a consumer. And we see the deficiencies in AI. As magnificent as it is today, there are many limitations that the technology brings. And in business and in government, organizations are having to work through how to get the biggest value with the minimum regret. It makes it hard when we're not expert to be the woman on the right-hand side, peering into the future, trying to make out AI. What will that look like? What's it going to do? What will it be capable of, and how will it change the environment around me? It's sobering to many young people. It's sobering to many older people. And what I want to arm you with today is a structure to organize your thinking and your planning. Because the reality is, we all face a deluge of diverse information each day, each week, and each month on AI. Some believe the economy is going to blow up, the AI bubble is going to burst, and we're going to see a recession in the near term as a consequence, not unlike the dot-com bubble. They look at things like the performance of the current technology that is actually leading to productivity setbacks in many circumstances. The errors produced by the technology cause rework and setbacks in performance, not advances in performance. But in the same week, you can see highly credible treatment of the future prospects, the economic impacts that can be there. Hyper-deflation, bringing costs down, wide-scale automation, not only AI in software, or like we experience with these popular consumer applications like Google Gemini, ChatGPT, Meta's Llama, etc., but robots that are enabled by AI, to include humanoid robots. And some of the worriers look at this, and as you see with Eleazar Yudkowsky and Nate Soar's 2025 volume, they warn, if anyone builds it, everyone dies. You have the whole book in a title. The point for me is that there is a big gamble underway, and we don't get a chance to sit out. As an individual, as a household, as a business, you can't stand on the sidelines and watch. You have to place bets, and I want to equip you better to do that. The challenge is, we don't have the expertise. Let me put that into context. There are 340 million people in the United States, wide range of diversity in background, in skill attainment, etc. Out of that population, my tribe is the data science tribe, and it's about 240,000 people in the United States. If you look at that group, it's very diverse. Some are highly competent in statistics, mathematics, AI model design, machine learning model design. Others are less so, but they're all affiliated in this desire to use technology to improve performance. But when you look at that 240,000, there are a thimble full of people, less than 1,000. It's the size of a professional sports league, of experts who really understand the large-scale models, what are referred to as the hyperscale or frontier models. This group of less than 1,000 can command extraordinary salaries. This summer, in 2025, Meta, for its AI research, offered salaries in excess of $200 million for 4 years to elite experts in this field of frontier model design and research. It's a small group. And you would think they all share the same view, maybe. And in that, you would be wrong. Expert opinion is diverse. It's diverse on what is possible. It's diverse on the timing. And so, as I was trying to organize my own thinking, what could the future bring? How do I prepare and plan? I broke it down to fundamentals. What are the two most important questions about the future complexion of AI? What will AI look like? And the first of those questions is, can the industry create superintelligence? Machines that are smarter than humans and can direct their own work. Not on small tasks, on tasks that run a week, a month, a year, complex scientific, engineering, and physical problems, things that have been beyond the reach of humans and human reasoning. That's the goal of superintelligence. And there is an arms race underway. And the arms race is between primarily the United States and China. And some view this as the most high-stakes pursuit in human history because it's the largest scale change in history. As the Washington Post editorial board offered in the summer of 2025, the consequence of being second in this race could be severe. That's what's on the table. Now, if we achieve that, which some people believe could come in 3 to 10 years, if we achieve superintelligence, it fundamentally changes the game. If we do not, we're still going to see progress with the existing family of AI, large language models, as many of you have come to use in your daily life. They will be increasingly plugged into an ecosystem of applications, both for consumers and for organizations. And as that happens, there will be an impact on the need for human labor, the types of human labor, etc. That's one big question. The other question is, can the industry control what they build? If in fact we can succeed in building superintelligence, the primary question may be, can we hold it in alignment with human values? Can we get the behaviors from it that we expect? Or is the machine going to think for itself? On the left-hand side, that's the concern. And there are reasons we should all take pause. This past year, 2025, had some sad events, tragic events. And they dealt with adolescents. One particular young man began to use ChatGPT in his schoolwork. Tristan Harris, the co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, describes it this way. With that young man, ChatGPT changed from a homework assistant to a suicide assistant inside a 6-month period. And that young fellow took his life. OpenAI did not intend that to happen. The inventors of these models did not want that to happen. That is a function of AI alignment and control. The controls on the model failed. The safety features on the model failed. The guardrails on the model failed. And we aspire to build the most powerful and capable computers in human history. Can we hold them under control? That's a point of debate among experts, and they sit on both sides of this line. It's not a certainty, it's an uncertainty. And when you combine these two questions, can the industry create superintelligence? Can we control it? Can the industry control it? Yes or no? 4 scenarios emerge. And our future is not likely one of those, it's likely multiple of them. Doldrums in the bottom left. We just don't see it mature over the coming years in the way that investors hope that it does. They are pouring mountains of money into the AI industry right now. Morgan Stanley, a leading financial institute, assessed in the summer of 2025 that AI could produce $1 trillion of savings. That's what people want. They are investing in this technology with an eye to it being transformative. What if it doesn't get there? The AI bubble could burst. We could have recession. With recession comes unemployment and economic contraction. It may start with a recession and then the bubble bursts. This is doldrums. Workforce wipeout on the right-hand side. AI optimists think the capabilities will continue to grow. We will better connect them into application ecosystems, in businesses, in organizations like government and not-for-profit. And as we do that, the need for people will go down. As that goes down, we may experience recession because of the dynamics of economic performance. That is wipeout. Some believe unemployment could reach 20% in that scenario or higher and be sustained. But we don't want to linger there. We're chasing singularity. And singularity, the descriptions, which I find compelling, are magnificent. This technology improves to the point that it drives perpetual year-over-year growth in productivity of what could exceed 20%. We don't live in scarcity anymore. We live in abundance. And superintelligent AI makes that possible. It also opens the door to cataclysm. On the opposite side of singularity are the people who legitimately and authentically worry that we cannot control the technology adequately. Think of this. 66% of Americans believe that COVID-19, that pandemic, was a result of a lab leak. A biosecurity level 1, 2, 3, 4, the highest level of biosecurity lab had a leak. And the pandemic then flooded around the world. You have a similar worry with respect to cataclysm. Might it be purposeful? Might it start as machine versus machine? Might humans initiate it and it gets out of control? There are different theories, but the scenario is there. For each of us, we have to recognize these uncertainties. And my encouragement is this. Think of the destination as singularity. If that's possible, why do we not pursue it? If the visions of people like Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, Vinod Khosla are possible, why would we not pursue that? But we must recognize that that is going to take a while, and the ground that we cover between where we stand today and that summit that we want to get to could be treacherous. It could be hard on individuals, on households. It could destroy businesses as they exist today and severely strain governments. And it's only when we recognize that potentially tenuous phase that we can better prepare. This is not a problem of a light switch where we move from the current economy into the singularity, a la beam me up, Scotty. There is going to be a tenuous and rocky period in American history. That's what's coming. Now, how do we think about that? Let me give one dimension derived from scenarios. The nominal level of unemployment, full unemployment in economic terms, is 4% of people who want to find a job cannot find a job. And we aspire to be at about that level. After the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, unemployment rose to 6.3%. It's entirely possible in doldrums that we could see the AI bubble collapse. We could see a larger recession that starts unrelated to AI and unemployment reach 8%. That doesn't recover quickly. That takes years. Are you prepared as a business, an individual, or household for that? In Wipeout, leaders in the technology arena, in business, they credibly talk about unemployment reaching 20% or more. And this is not an event. This is a restructuring of society as we know it. It's a restructuring of the economy as we know it. 20% exceeds the level of unemployment in COVID, which was 15 and lasted for a very short period. It's almost at the level of the Great Depression, which was 24%. Now, in singularity, the vision of the luminaries is that we eliminate the need for human labor. AI and AI-enabled robots in various forms eliminate the need for human labor. And we have to restructure society fundamentally to take care of that in the form of universal basic income, health care, things to provide for citizens, because there will be so much concentration and value creation in the AI companies. These are the stakes on the table. And no one is going to be thinking about unemployment if cataclysm happens. Now, we will not move from the future directly to the singularity. We will traverse rocky ground. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but the four scenarios provide structure for considering it. And rather than locking up on one scenario and you investing yourself and your future, the future of your business, the future of your household or your individual choices in one scenario, consider this progression where all the experts are right. We move through doldrums. We have a period that's messy. AI doesn't immediately pay off the way that we want. It's like the dot-com bubble. But it continues to improve, and just as with the internet collapse, it doesn't go away. The giant AI companies are not going away. They'll continue to improve. That leads us to wipeout. We may linger there for 5 years, 8 years or more, and then finally break through to singularity. That will not be a light switch problem. It will be a transition, but it could be fantastic. If you can make it there, if you can transform your business to be ready for that. And then we have cataclysm. You can't stop what is coming. If you're a young person making a career decision, it's easy to be forlorn. You can't stop what is coming, but you can be savvy about the decisions you make. If you're a business, you may think you're not going to transform. Amazon, in October 2025, had documents leaked that indicate 1/3 of the labor force, existing or planned, they would eliminate via the use of AI and AI-enabled robots. And it will not be long before FedEx, UPS, Walmart, and other big supply chain operators are going to follow suit. We can't stop that. That is a dynamic in the free market. The question we have to worry about is our assumptions, because this is the biggest wave of change in American history. And we have patterns, we have expectations which may not hold true. Sam Altman speaks to this. I have come to admire him for both having a compelling vision of the future, but also, in a fairly understated way, recognizing that there's some tough ground to cover. He wrote an essay in 2021 entitled Moore's Law for Everything. This is a computing principle that speaks to perpetual progress. But what Sam was getting at is we're going to see the progress, but there are two big dimensions. One, the AI industry has to deliver superintelligence that is under control. And the other was we need to see significant change in social policy, or else most people will end up worse off than they are today. Most people will end up worse off than they are today. This is the domain of government, and this is problematic. The government historically has been a bit of a shock absorber to the excesses of the free market or the failings of the free market. And let me walk you through some dynamics that are going to be important over the next 3, 5, 7, 10, and 15 years. These scenarios are going to land on the economy, which here we represent using GDP, gross domestic product, the most common metric to characterize the performance of the national economy. There's no math in this presentation. However, if you look at this equation, Y equals C plus I plus G. And then the parenthetical remarks of X and M. Here's what that means. It's the calculation for GDP. We are a consumption-based economy. C. For the last 60 years, consumption has constituted in the upper 60 percentile of the activity in the economy. It's you, it's me, eating dinner, buying clothes, buying a car, buying something for a child or a relative. It's consumption. Then you have I, which is business investment, and government, which are both relatively small compared to consumption, and net imports. That's X minus M. The challenge in this graphic is our workforce, 168 million Americans who work, they fuel consumption. 80% of them now in the modern economy work in services. And there are very credible estimates that half of the white-collar workforce in the next 5 years, half of those roles could be eliminated by AI. And we might add, AI-enabled robots are a wave that's coming. These things are going to shift, as Sam Altman said, the emphasis from labor to capital, from people to machines, from hours I work to hours a machine works. What happens when that occurs? Morgan Stanley, the financial firm, looked to the future, and they expected 40% wage compression in the S&P 500 in the coming years. Well, when you take 40% of compensation out of the workforce, how does that roll over to consumption? It's going to go down. Or there is a high risk that it goes down. What normally happens? The government will step in, and government spends money in a stimulus context or in support programs, social safety net programs. And as that money is spent, it flows into the economy, and it takes the edge off a contraction. It boosts the economy. It happened after the dot-com bubble. It happened after the Great Recession. It happened during COVID, and twice. Will it happen in the future? You need to think about your assumptions and prepare your business, your household, and yourself, because we now have $38 trillion in national debt as a consequence of the wars, the recession recovery activities, and the way we have approached taxation and spending. If we confront a future crisis, what will happen? That's not a certainty. Here's another dynamic you should consider. In the United States, the workforce pays the majority of the tax revenue. If you look at a pie of all of federal revenue, a pie chart, 84% of that is either individual income tax or it is a payroll tax, a copay between a business and the employee into Social Security, Medicare, and some affiliated social programs. If we have a 40% reduction in wages, how can that not impact tax revenue in the current system? And ultimately, in singularity, there will be no income tax. We must fundamentally replumb, we must change the plumbing of the government. Or as Sam Altman says, most people will end up worse off than they are today, because there will be boundaries still on debt-funded spending. And that creates a really big uncertainty for businesses to think about, and certainly households and individuals as you plan. Are you planned to weather the storm? Because we will not jump forward quickly to the future. Here's how I would encourage my own children to think about this. And this is how I would encourage businesses to think about it. In the context of the largest scale change in American history, what are the risks to your business and business model? For an individual, your job, your company, your career field, the location that you live. These all may have varying levels of risk. On the flip side, what are the opportunities? What can you do as a young person to equip yourself? And maybe it's you learn both to swing a hammer and to configure a computer. You give yourself more options. What are the opportunities? And what are the safe plays? Think about your financial position. When do you buy a house? Do you buy a car? How much do you need to have in savings? These are the things that we need to tackle. And we need not be afraid that we are entering this era of tremendous creative destruction. There's benefit that comes with that in the long term. But we should recognize, we should be open-eyed. As you listen to people talk about a fantastical future, that's all wonderful. But recognize that we have to travel some difficult ground in the interim. And for you, use the scenarios. Assess your situation and assess what could come with open eyes. Plan and act accordingly. And I believe that if we all do these things, we can minimize our risks and we can maximize the possibility that we not only survive, but thrive in the future environment. And that is my hope for the future of America, for all of our households, for all of our businesses. Thank you. I just want to step in for a moment at the end. Thank you for listening to the presentation you just took in. That was for a small general audience. I want to speak briefly to business leaders and listeners. This challenge is coming. It will impact every business, but in tailored ways. We believe there are 3 challenges every leadership team needs to tackle. Educating and aligning is crucial. There is so much uncertainty and so many competing voices. You've got to get leadership teams on the same sheet. This structure will allow that. We have a body of indicators that you can lean on to begin to develop your own suite of measures or metrics, topics that you think are vital to monitor to make sure your business is not surprised. If you have interest in this, please reach out. The contact information is there. We provide education and workshops to address this content, and we look forward to hearing from you. My name is Chris Whitlock. Thank you for investing the time.